I've got to just finish. I've won at eBay auction.
Oh, what'd you win?
Yeah.
Just for $10. A bunch of Kirby figures. I'm on my Kirby bullshit. You know, Laura, you'll appreciate this. You get your autistic hyperfixations. You go, one cycles in and out of obsessive fascination with things. Obviously I have my pinball stuff, which, I don't know if I mentioned, but my pinball table is fixed now. I found out there's a guy local to here, and his whole thing is maintaining pinball tables. So that Bride of Pinbot machine that had the entire glass top cracked open by the removal men when they moved the stuff over, that's all fixed. And the Godzilla table also now, just because he ended up with 2 panes of glass, now has brand new glass in it, so that looks shiny. And that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because the Bride of Pinbot table had the wrong kind of glass in it. It's not supposed to crack into 2 essentially glass swords. It's actually meant to be like windshield glass. It's meant to turn into like 1,000,000 cubes. So it had the wrong glass in it to begin with. So now it has the right kind of glass, and now it's better than it was. Because I was worried. I was like, God, that even if it fixed, it possibly won't be the same.
Right.
I knew it was a refurb job, but I didn't know what had been refurbed. And I always get really sad about the idea that something that might have been original to the machine getting broken, or original to any of the things I might have. But the fact that had been refurbed in the wrong way was actually good. So that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirby's my current thing, because of Kirby Air Riders got me sort of obsessed with Kirby's one of my favourites from games, and every now and then I will go on a big Poyo kick. I mentioned last week my Poyoing endeavours, and yeah, I've got Kirby's Epic Yarn due to, I think, arrive today, so I'm getting the Wii set up, because I haven't played Kirby's Epic Yarn since it was new, and I remember that one being fucking brilliant.
Oh, it's fab. It is not a challenging game, but it is a constantly pleasing game.
Well, that's actually something I want to do a video about, is Kirby's relationship with difficulty as a concept, because I'll talk about it a little bit more when we do Games of the Week, but I'm playing Kirby Triple Deluxe, and that one, I was looking back at some of the critical reception, and its difficulty came up a lot. Yeah, I've got interesting thoughts about that, because, yeah, Kirby's main games will get critiqued on their easiness, but that series also has some of the most difficult, challenging, optional modes you could ever hope to find.
The post-game content, as it were, in, what's the Switch Kirby? The, Forgotten Land? Some of the post-game stuff in Forgotten Lands was, like, tricky as all hell.
Yeah.
Like, once you start getting to the, like, okay, here's the bullshit pretend villain out the way, here's the one that's trying to eat reality, they really do sort of ramp up their difficulty.
Yeah, and that series has always been, like, just a dichotomy between easy and really hard, and cute and eldritch. Just a great series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get anything to do with Marks at the moment. The baddie from Kirby Superstar.
The little jestery one.
The little jester, because that's my best one from Kirby characters. For someone as prominent as he is, there's not a lot of merch, you could call it, about him. So I've been keeping an eye on that. The thing I've been telling myself, and I will say I've been telling myself it successfully, that I don't need, is, do you remember that Kirb meme from a while back? There was an old 1993 plushie of Kirby, and people called it Kirb, because it doesn't look like Kirby very much, but it does look mad.
No, I don't know this one.
Oh yeah, it's a total meme. I actually hadn't heard much about it, but I was wondering, why is this plush $2,000?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Yeah. I believe it's considered the rarest, clearly the most expensive, because Kirby stuff isn't mega expensive. It's not a big collector's thing, outside of a few bits and bobs. But yeah, that Kirb is very much a grail thing, and they've got two of them for sale.
I can see one on eBay for $1,090.
Yeah. So I am pretty successfully telling myself I don't need that. That it seems a bridge too far. But yeah, Kirby's my thing at the moment. I rewatched an episode of the anime, Kirby Right Back at Ya. That is one of the most balls wacky cartoons based on a thing. The liberties it takes. It's the only thing that takes more liberties as a cartoon is that was it called The Adventures of Captain N?
Oh yeah, Captain N the Game Master.
Captain N the Game Master. Yeah.
That had Simon Belmont dressed up like Launchpad for some reason.
The Mega Man with the weird accent that I struggle to place. Yeah.
Mother Brain basically being Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. Amazing. But yeah, I think Louisiana Crawdad Day is up there in terms of amazing representations. But the trouble is whenever I catch just a glimpse of that anime, I will then spend the next few days just bellowing throughout the house, I need a monster to clobber that here Kirby! It's a compelling show that I think says a lot about us as people and our relationship with monsters that clobber that dear Kirby. Because I tell you what, right, Kirby, he be running round. He be running round, eating all of DDD's Creole, whatever that is. Just running around. And he needs a monster. So he gets a monster from Nightmare Incorporated, Laura.
Yeah.
He's like, I need a monster to club it in there. And the man said, I'll give you a monster. And then a monster comes and goes, like that. And these weird little kids are like, and Meta Knight turns up and he goes, oh, I am Meta Knight, I am Spanish, like that. And then the monster goes, and Kirby's head's on fire and goes, and then the little kids go, and the monster goes, DDD goes, and then a weird snail goes, and that's Kirby. Right back at ya.
By comparison, my hyperfixation that's been doing the rounds today has purely been, I stumbled upon a TikTok account, and all that this TikTok account does is it plays 0.3 second long clips of My Chemical Romance songs.
Oh.
And then goes, can you identify what that song is? And I'm like, yeah, I can get that.
Oh,
so I've just been sat there listening to like a third of a second fragments of songs and being like, yeah, I know that one. Ugh. Look at me go, I know that.
I am guessing you've been 100%ing that thus far.
The ones that I haven't got the song titles for, I've gone, I know which one it is, and I'm singing the lyrics to myself and going, I'm too tired to remember the song name, but I can sing you all through all three verses and the choruses. I can sing it to you, even if I can't tell you what it's called right now.
Well, I can confirm,
Excellent.
I can say with certainty, that there are no polyps in my colon right now. So I got that going.
Yeah.
Now, there were 5, and we're going to get those checked out.
Ah.
Well, that is more than I can say right now. I don't know for a certain fact there aren't polyps in me, so good on you. You got good things going for you.
That's right.
Yeah, I better arrange getting something crowned up me. I probably ought to get my polyps checked out as well. I don't know what's up there, except for a good time, am I right?
Oh!
But seriously, I should get myself checked out. You can never be too careful when you get to my age.
Yep.
Then again, I've got to get to the dentist as well, because the hole in my tooth I've had for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure I could keep my keys in it now. I've seriously got to get it checked out. It's not good.
Well, you know what else we got to check out?
That's also not good.
Video games.
Indeed.
They might be good, they might not. Who knows?
Sometimes
I
good.
Sure don't. Who's played some of them this week, and roughly how many, so I know what order to make us talk about them in?
I have played a game.
I have played all the Kirby stuff I can put into one lump sum, and then I want to talk more about Octopath Traveler 0, and I think that's it, because I did download Unbeatable, but I haven't gotten to the part where there's a game yet. And yeah, I only had a few minutes to try it yesterday, so I've not gotten into any of the gameplay bit. I've just run around and talked to some people. It does seem quite the interesting game. And the Blue Sky account for the studio is quite spicy.
Yes.
To an intimidating degree, to a degree where if I review Unbeatable, I'm worried that they are going to say something snarky, but because they're clearly from a lot younger generation than me, they're going to say it in such a way that I won't know how bad I've been dunked on. We're at that point now.
As about this, Steph, if they do a post about you, send it to me and I'll translate it into how much you should take it seriously.
Yeah, just let me know how badly I've gotten burned. Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump in with one that I've started playing, and it's interesting, but I've not played a huge amount about. I'll get it out of the way quick. I've started playing Skate Story.
Oh yeah, I saw that come up because it's on the PlayStation Network.
This is the Devolver.
Yeah, this is a Devolver one. The idea of this, the plot of it, as best I understand it, is you are a spirit in hell who has decided to try and make a deal to get out of hell. And the contract you have made is, I will become made out of glass and become incredibly brittle and fragile, and be given a skateboard, which is very dangerous for a man made out of glass, and if I can successfully eat the moon, then you'll let me out of hell. And now you've got to skateboard real fast through hell, while every little bump might cause you to shatter. It is a very satisfying skateboarding game that in many ways reminds me of Sayonara Wild Hearts from a few years ago.
Oh yeah, that one.
For large portions of the game, it is downhill skating on a largely predetermined track where you're trying to avoid the things that are trying to destroy you, while music plays and cool visuals happen. And during those portions where it's very much Sayonara Wild Hearts, I am having a good time with it. There's also sometimes boss fights in it, and the boss fights are essentially do varied cool tricks on your skateboard to damage essentially the upper class snooty members of hell that will be absolutely damaged by you doing rad skateboard tricks. The trick system is real simple. You've got one button that is your ollie, that on the Switch is the A button, and then trigger and bumper buttons are your modifiers. So you're basically like L1 and A is a trick, L2 and A is a trick, R1 and A is a trick, R2 and A is a trick, A by itself is a trick. And you're basically just combining the ollie button with a modifier button, at least for me so far. Nice and simple. It's very much not trying to be the kind of skating game where it's like, you have to precisely do your trick with exactly enough time to land it properly. It's more, do you have time to do this trick in the air and still get back onto your board and start turning before you hit an obstacle that's going to shatter you? It's more, do you have time to do the trick, not, are you going to land mid-trick and that fucks you up? The bit where I'm less interested in this game is I've reached a couple of places where it becomes a open area exploration game, where you have like a mid-sized environment to go explore and find collectibles that'll unlock doors to let you keep progressing with the game. Those have felt like meandering and not particularly well signposted as to what you're meant to be doing, and they've really felt like momentum killers for me, because what I want to be doing is just playing all of the I'm going downhill at rapid speed, doing my cool, like, hairpin turns, trying to avoid touching anything because I'm fragile. During those moments, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm just not clicking with the moments where I'm like, here's a big area, go get some philosophical ideas from some giant stone heads to open a philosophy door. So I'm having fun with it, but I'm not sure what those bits are about. They're not quite clicking for me yet.
Yeah, I've heard the name of the game come up a lot. I know there's been some, like, quite a bit of anticipation behind it. I was tempted to pick it up, just because, you know, I've got PSN and it's, you know, I hesitate to always use the word free with those things, but I don't have to pay additional money for it.
I would say, with PSN and it being available with the money you've already spent, it's worth picking up and having a look at, but
okay,
yeah, see if you see what I mean about the sort of larger environment areas, because they've really just kind of felt like they've stopped me from doing the fun bit of the game, and maybe I'm just not seeing the vision, but it's for me it feels like interruptions to the thing that the game is doing well.
Yeah. Well, you got me suitably curious.
Yeah. I want to put more time into it. I put like an hour and a half in, and when I like it, I really like it. When it's having these lulls, I just kind of wish it would get back to the bit I was really enjoying a minute ago. But the good bits are good enough that I'm trying to push through the dull.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you, Steph? What you been playing?
So I didn't give it a great deal of attention last week, but I do want to talk a little bit more about Octopath Traveler 0. It's incredible that that was a mobile game originally, a mobile gacha game. Champions of the Coast, I think it was called, something like that, or of the continent. And obviously a lot's been done to gussy it up so that it could justify being a full release. But to start life as a mobile gacha game, one of the many sort of failed quote-unquote services of Square Enix, to have been rescued from that graveyard and become what I consider my favourite Octopath Traveler game. It's a hell of a transformation. I'd heard that as far as these types of mobile games go, I'd heard that it was well written. I believe certainly the first half, although the second half is still very good, certainly the first half of that game is easily the best writing in the series. The three villains that are leading the first half of the game are incredible. They are just delicious. August, the serial killer playwright who murders people to get material for his work, he's just amazing. Obviously brilliantly camp, but on top of that, just icky. Like, they've managed to make him so ugh. And they did really like as far as role, like, turn-based RPGs go, I would say that the Octopath Traveler has often like dipped darker than most in the genre in terms of just the things they cover. Like, you know, the first game, one of the characters, Primrose, breaks out of the sex trade, basically, like at the abusive side of the sex trade. And that's not a plot you really see in RPGs. And this one, I think, just as far as depicting abject, greed-fueled evil, it's done a really fascinating job. It's got some issues. I think some of the stuff is really restrictive with, like, the town building, and yet that hasn't stopped me being obsessed with the town building. Because of the restrictions, I've had to accept I will never make a location as lovely as some of the ones that are already in the game. But, you know, I've made a little monument to a snowman and a little monument to a crate of crabs. And that's kept me happy enough. The fact that it becomes a place where you can get resources has also done a lot to fix that series economy. Because I've never been excited about going to a new town and going to the shop, which I think for these types of games is always a good sort of feeling. You get to a new town, what new weapons will they have? I never really got that from this game because prices for stuff, they're astronomical throughout. Whereas in this one, not only do you get your own shop that you can put NPCs in to sort of raise the selling prices and lower the buying prices a little bit. Not only do you get rotating stock that has, like, really rare skills and stuff that you can't get elsewhere, eventually you can find an NPC that's a sheep. And if you put it in your ranch and have sheep in the ranch, they'll give you sheep wool, which sells for a considerable amount. And little things like that, like the little tweaks you can find that up your resources, absolutely improve the economy so much. And now, like, I'm fully invested in earning the leaves to buy new weapons and certainly the new skills, because some of those are really cool. So that's really good. Story's good. Town building, good. The combat, I am crossing everything that can be crossed. That is what they do with new Octopath Traveler games going forward. The change from a party of 4 to a party of 8, essentially 4 tag teams, on the surface you wouldn't think it would do a massive amount, but it does a lot. Coupled with the fact that even characters with the same job have some different skills, so that they don't fully None of them are redundant. Then each one can unlock 2 passive slots and 2 active slots to put any skill that you've acquired as an item in there. The tweaking you can do has, again, like, absorbed me in a way that other games in the series haven't. I love Octopath Traveler. I have always petered out of Octopath Traveler before the end. I've always just sort of dropped off of it. This one, I have been fully hooked, and I think a big part of it is the changes made to party makeup and combat.
I started playing the demo for this based on your recommendation the other week. You are 100% on the money about this game. Like, it was reminding me in places almost of, like, Expedition 33 earlier this year, in terms of that flexibility of how you're able to play around with anything you've learned on any character can ultimately end up on any character. Like, you learn a thing and ultimately you can find a way to wedge it on anyone. Mm-hmm. That party flexibility really felt very reminiscent of what I enjoyed there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that is a thing I wish more games in this genre did.
Because enemy weaknesses are such an integral part to that game's system, because it's all about breaking shield points on enemies by hitting things they're weak to. Having 8 characters with flexible slots, it makes that whole system so much better, because in the previous games, even one-off, like, little fights against little mooks that are lower level than you, even they could drag on. Whereas here, because all your bases are covered, and because, thanks to the shopping and the economy and everything else, you can get a lot stronger. Not strong enough that tougher bosses and that they're still challenging, but you can get through basic fights quicker.
It's never a slog because you happen to not bring the right person with the right tool. You're always going to have somewhere in your repertoire the tool that you need to be doing this, and therefore, like, that I'm grinding against a thing I don't have the tools for isn't where the challenge is coming from.
So exploring is less boring to me, like, because it gets old fast in the other games, because every random fight becomes a saga, and that's not the case here. You can get through the basic fights a lot quicker. And because you can cover so many bases, because there's so much to tweak, where it's like, okay, well, I've got this character that's doing a bunch of elemental spells, but I don't have enough slots to cover all of them, but the character that can tag her out and tag in, if I give them that, then I've got coverage. Like, you can play with it so much. And of course, your avatar character can be any of the jobs, and so that is almost like a free space where it's like, I can do anything with this one, and then I've got these more preset existing characters. You know, I've got a character that unlocking her ultimate passive skill raises her stats if she's partnered with me, because she becomes sort of fixated on my character, which is a lovely little story element as well. And I've currently got my main avatar as a cleric, and I've equipped the defense boosting, like the party-wide defense boosts on her, so she comes in really quick and buffs everyone. I took Alexia, who's basically a cannon in terms of how far you can ramp up her magic damage. I tagged her with Ludo, who's turned out to be my fastest character. So Ludo gets the first turn, immediately tags in the biggest damage dealer, and the one who has the analyze skill, so she can find out enemy weaknesses quicker. And it's all just little things like that, little ways you can play with the formula, you know. I've got Vieta, who is, as far as physical damage goes, I started him off as a tank because he can provoke enemies to attack him and has the parry skill, which just negates any physical hit 3 times. And he started off as purely that, as a tank, but now his damage output is so high, he almost doesn't need to be tagged out. But that's fine, because I attached a skill to Steer where she automatically buffs whoever's in the front row from the back row. So I never need to tag him out because she's automatically healing him. And it's just stuff like that. Like, I truly think any 2 players of this game will have very different party makeups. I'm sure there's an optimum way. There's always an optimum way. But in terms of basic play, you can do so much and so much more than you used to be able to do. I saw the headline of one review say that it was a good Octopath Traveler game, but it lacks the soul of the others. And I would disagree. I think this one has a surprising amount. I think it's very easy to have a preset bias towards this game. And I'm not saying that's what the reviewer had, because I didn't bother reading. I don't really read the other reviews, certainly not until I've written and published my own. But I think it's very easy to assume this game is soulless because of how it started. Frankly, I am astounded, and I think it's a huge testament to the artistic integrity of the studio that they did not phone this in. Obviously, as I said, they've embellished it a lot in the move to consoles, but I totally respect and admire the creative intent of this, and just the fact that they did not approach this soullessly. They could have. I genuinely hope that 8-party battles and the things you can do with skills, I hope that level of flexibility is retained going forward, because in my opinion, and I'm sure some would disagree, in my opinion, this is the best Octopath Traveler game. Absolutely. I fucking love it. And yeah, if you like a good RPG, the flexibility of this one lends a depth that has certainly kept me utterly hooked, to the point where I should be doing other stuff, but I've just sank everything into that so much. My non-Kirby time this week has been that brilliant.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Comrade? What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing the recently released Terminator 2D No Fate.
Oh, I played a little bit of that.
This is the 2D retro style, like in the 16-bit visually.
It plays and feels very much like the Mega Drive Alien 3 game. It's got that era of licensed 16-bit game like feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you reckon?
It is on fucking point.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is maybe the best licensed adaptation of its type I've seen ever. Like,
Jeez.
it is...
That's some high praise. Ooh.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
The music is perfect. They got it all. Like, everything that matters musically in Terminator 2 is there. It is packed with little unnecessary touches. Things that just don't need to be there. Animations. Here's an example. Okay. So the game, its story mode and all of its levels basically comprise the action sequences in Terminator 2. And it gets pretty much all of them. I can think of a couple of levels I might have been like, oh, we could do this, but it doesn't feel like anything's lacking, right? So as a result, you don't see a fair bit of plot stuff. It just skips by it. Like when the T-1000 goes to John Connor's house and kills his step-parents, right? Or his foster parents. You don't see that. But what you do see when the T-1000 is eventually destroyed at the end of the game, and it goes through the morph animations of all of the characters that it's contained, they include her. She's in there. Didn't need to. Could have been just generic shit. But it's there, and she's perfect. It's shit like that. There is a, when you're doing the steel mill sequence, again, there's a sequence where you approach an area and you're closed off and witnessing the T-800 and the T-1000 fighting. And it's a pretty lengthy animation. And it goes through, like, the best points of their fighting. Like, the T-1000 gets hit against the wall and then flips himself around automatically, and that's animated in there. Like, it's so dense with Terminator and that vibe. Meanwhile, the gameplay is excellent. you play as all of the significant heroic characters in the game at points throughout it. So you will play as Sarah Connor. The opening of the story mode are expository missions of stuff that, happens in between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 that wasn't depicted on screen and fills in the gaps to explain why Sarah is in the mental hospital and John Connor.
Although I would have found it fucking hilarious if Terminator 2 started with
Double Dragon Marion Punch.
Yeah, and just like shooting the fucking shit out of like dozens of bikers and shit, like and drug dealers and all of that. Like if she just went full John Rambo, I'd find that really funny.
But it also would have been kind of incredible and really driven home how hardcore she'd gotten in the interim period between these two events.
They make her like way fucking like Yeah. This game makes her come across as just fucking awesome, which is good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then the sequence in the hospital when she escapes. You feel powerful, but you are very limited. You can only do close up. So there's a not stealth element. Yeah, light stealth, we'll call it. You want to avoid tipping off guards before you can get behind them and knock them out quickly. This game has a surprising number of sort of deep systems built into it. There's a checkpoint system for all of the, levels. So it's fairly friendly in terms of should you die, it'll checkpoint you to a pretty reasonable location. But those checkpoints also restore any lost health that you have. And if your health is at maximum, it will increase your maximum health. So there is a reward for successful play built into the checkpointing system that is kind of important for higher difficulty settings where the enemies are a lot tougher. I found that the normal mode, which they call No Problemo, I think, is that it? Yeah, I think that's it.
I think it is, yeah.
The easier one is Easy Money. Yeah, there's Easy Money, No Problemo.
This part of this is, a big part of this is a skill issue, so I'm not complaining. I found it really difficult.
Really?
I'm finding it really tough. Yeah, I think it's just, I was never good at Alien 3. There's something about that style of 2D shooter. It's mostly, I think I'm terrible at positioning, which I've only so far gotten as far as I think it's the second level boss, the robot eye that throws out the grenades. Avoiding those grenades so far, I'm like, because I play a lot of emulated retro games, I'm like, where's the fucking save state button? Yeah, I haven't got further than that yet. I didn't have much time with it anyway, so I probably would have gotten past it by now. But that's my current sticking point.
The timing with that one can be tricky. It's full of just everything you want. There's a lot of play variety as you get further in. It does the bar fight with the T-800, and that's a brawler. And there's
lovely,
just some beautiful touches in that brawler.
Is he nutty?
Is he nutty? Oh, yeah.
Is he nutty?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've not, like I said, I've not got to that bit yet. Funny thing is, the main biker in the film looks exactly like my evil stepdad. If you have ever heard me talk about my evil stepdad and want to know what he looked like, the guy I think he's the one who puts the cigarette out on his hand, but certainly is the one who's whimpering "take it" at the end as he throws the keys to him. The long beard and hair, that is the spitting image of my evil stepdad. That's just a fun Terminator 2 fact that I've never seen in any of like the trivia books and fantasy.
They never know that down. They never
know that. It looks like Stephanie's evil stepdad. But yeah, I wasn't expecting much because I'd just finished playing that Marvel beat 'em up. And I wasn't necessarily judging it based on that, but I wasn't feeling great about licensed retro-looking games.
Sure. Well, we recently had that those horror games that were retro platformers that,
Oh, yeah.
had a lot of promise, but wound up being a little underwhelming and absurdly expensive. And then here we have and this is a $30 game. Like, they are asking a premium price for what this is, but they have nailed it. Other modes of play, they do the dirt bike chase sequence with the semi. And everything you want
lovely.
that to be is in there. It's a very simple, forced scrolling. Here are an indicator on the right side of the screen, switch between 2 lanes. They do this a couple of times during the game. Every time they do it, they mix it up a little bit, so it doesn't feel stale and it never overstays its welcome. They are just nice little divergences, and then you move on. There are complaints that I've heard people make about it. It's not very long. It is, in essence, a 90-minute at most to clear the story mode. And I understand feeling a way about the length. However, one, as I said, pretty much nothing's missing here. Like, they did everything they needed to do. And 2, there are 4 difficulty settings and 4 additional gameplay modes that are available, and the story has branching paths, so there's a total of 3 endings. And the branching paths have different stages. So, I don't get the complaint that there's not enough content here. If you liked the game enough that you got to the end of it and wanted there to be more, there is more, and you can play it. Like, that doesn't wash with me. Now, the complaint that I can see is that you don't get enough Arnold. And I get it. Because there's one Arnold sequence that is in the entirety, like every branching path has it because it precedes the branching. There is an Arnold stage that only appears in one of the 3 paths. It is the longest Arnold stage in the game by a tremendous amount. And it has some of the most interesting gameplay. And I can understand being ticked off that you don't get a little more of that, even though it is a very lengthy stretch of the game. Because the T-800 is a badass. You have this is a sequence of Cyberdyne, you have the minigun, and you're dealing with enemies that basically run in 3 lanes. And there are human enemies with shields that will block the bullets, preventing you from taking out enemies behind them. But the T-800 has the minigun, they have a slight dash, they have a physical uppercut attack, they fucking rip. And you can use all of these elements. Oh, and a dodge. He can lean back to have fire, shots slide past him without harm. And so, like, using all of these things effectively is not only very possible, but I'm pretty sure on the harder difficulty settings is going to be absolutely crucial in that sequence. And my God, you must feel amazing when you get like a handle on how to do it really well, because there are so many options packed into moment-to-moment play there. It's just great stuff. And so, yeah, I can see being a little bummed that you don't get more of that in the main campaign, and B, being a little bummed that the only real way to get more of that is by unlocking the infinite mode, which requires you to, I think, beat the game story in all 3 branching paths, and then beat the boss rush before it unlocks. So, I can see that, yeah, I can understand being a little upset that you're not getting a little more T-800 action. But beyond that, like, the game just fucking rips. The animations are gorgeous. The music is perfect. The sound design is great. Like, in the chase sequence on the dirt bike, that dirt bike sounds like the dirt bike. And then when Arnold shows up, it sounds like a fucking Harley. Like, and you can hear that transition, and it's just gorgeous. It has an attract mode. where if you leave it sitting long enough on the title screen, it will show you all of the characters like a classic 16-bit game would, or classic arcade game would, and give you stats on them, and show you how good you could be playing as them. Like, shows all their little techniques and maneuvers and gives you hints on how to apply them. The game is just great. It's just great. And I hope people give it a chance and don't get turned off, because I truly feel like this was the game we all wanted every 16-bit licensed game to be when we played them. It just does it. It just does the thing. It's great.
Hell of an
Hooray.
endorsement. I'd heard good things, but like, yeah,
Yep.
I'm thrilled.
Nice.
I'm gonna get back to it, I think, today.
Yay. I played a fascinating thing this week. I want to talk about a bit. Have either of you been aware of the game that is a little hard to purchase at the moment, Horses?
I am aware of Horses.
I am aware of Horses, yes.
How much do you both know about it? I'm curious.
I know a fair bit. Renegade
yeah.
Cut, Leon Thomas, did a really good video on it recently. And I'd been sort of keeping up on the Horses sort of story for the last couple months as it's been playing out.
Yeah, I read some pretty extensive coverage on it, so I know pretty much the full basic story.
Yeah, so for anyone listening to this who's not been aware of this is a game that has had some trouble being on some of the game stores. It got pulled off of Steam, it got pulled off of, I think, the Epic Game Store. And I was like, I'm curious about it. I want to check it out because I want to be aware of what's going on, because I know this game has also been nominated for a lot of indie awards while sort of during development. Horses is a first-person game that's maybe 4 hours long, where you are essentially playing someone who over the course of a couple of weeks is working on a farm. And what becomes immediately apparent is that the animals on the farm, largely horses, are represented as naked people wearing horse masks. Not initially clear how much you're meant to take that as a literal representation or not. It becomes, as you play it, harder to deny. Nope, that is just a naked person in a horse mask being referred to as a horse. And it is a exploration of, I would argue, the ways that it can be made very easy to dehumanize groups when you exist within a system where you've only ever seen those people dehumanized, and where the systems of power around you are reinforcing that dehumanization and doing so to your benefit, and it would be detrimental to stand up against a dehumanization that is unquestioningly present, and the deep discomfort that comes from existing within a system that has this kind of dehumanization happening, and knowing that it is wrong, but not doing anything to change it. It is a deeply uncomfortable experience that I do not think would work if it was not a video game. It is a thing that inherently needs to be about you being complicit in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to quite work if it's like that fucking Netflix Ed Gein show where it's just someone occasionally going, "You're the real monster." Like, it's not going to work.
No, because, like, I don't want to say too much about the ways that it does this, but it frequently forces you to engage with, do you or do you not push back against this? And whether you are playing as someone who ultimately has the strength to push back against a system that no one around you is questioning, and that you are going to feel like you're the odd one out if you question it. It very much highlights the ways in which dehumanization is allowed to perpetuate itself by the fact that you're gonna seem like the strange one if you're the only one in a room going, wait, this thing that we all do shouldn't we not do that? It's going to inherently force you to side with the oppressed, and the risks that come with doing that. It is a fascinating experience that I have no interest in experiencing more than once, but that it definitely has something to say, and it says it very effectively, if very uncomfortably. I am glad I gave it the time to experience it, even if...
Yeah, but Laura...
Goodness, it was not an easy play.
Video games and the people who play them should be perpetually infantilized, so I don't think you should be sort of talking about a game like this in a positive way. I do want to play it. I want to get my hands on it. I am deeply concerned by the way it's been treated by storefronts. The reason that was first given was interactions of a sexual nature with a minor.
Which, I am aware of the scene that's being described. I think it is... To describe it as sexual contact with a minor is, like, deeply insincere of a way to describe it.
The impression I got. But here's the thing, right?
Yeah. Very quickly, the thing that happens is a child rides on the shoulders of Naked Horseman.
Right.
There is no contact
That's
of genitals, but a person who is naked with a horse mask on has a child riding on their shoulders. I can see why, but I'm like, it is there for a reason to talk about, like, the dehumanization of non-sexualized nudity. It is there for a very specific purpose. I get it.
And it's clearly effective, because it is doing that and it is triggering that response in these people.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think it's important to talk about this scene, because very specifically, describing that scene that way strips the scene from the context of the wider narrative, which is, this is a game that is deeply, deeply anti-sex, or at least it portrays one of its primary characters as deeply, deeply offended by the idea of sex, particularly when it comes to dehumanized communities. It reminded me a lot of the ways that people have really fucked up views around disabled people being allowed to have sex. The horse characters are very explicitly viewed as sinful. If they in any way engage in anything sexual, that is the greatest sin this dehumanized community could do. And it is a very deliberate juxtaposition of the reaction that people have to that scene. I get it, but it is deliberate and it is to a purpose. But yeah, there is a real lack of nuance in the way that the game stores have handled that scene.
Well, there's a real lack of nuance in the way content of games is handled in general, and that's the bit that I'm finding alarming, is we, at some point, decided there are certain topics, certain depictions that is perfectly okay in every other creative medium except video games. And I find that incredibly sad. Now, obviously, this particular case has been blown out of proportion. I think a depiction of some sort of like pedophilia or what have you that is critical of it, and is that depiction is a critical it's obviously not saying it's good or doing it for someone to get their jollies or what have you. If it is meant to be suitably disturbing, if we're saying that can't be in games, we are absolutely saying games is a lesser creative medium than anything else. In the 2010s, we couldn't even depict real religions in video games. I still remember that time. I remember when The Binding of Isaac wasn't allowed on Nintendo platforms because of the religious implications. And we've moved past that.
You know, we go back a little bit beyond that. We had stuff like Manhunt 2 is a murder simulator and it's going to teach you to do murders. It's,
Obviously, that was the big one, the famous sort of video game violence that we have seen in other mediums. But there's still this infantilized idea of video games that we need to move past. It'll never be a fully creative, and let's face it, it's exactly this kind of infantilization that has allowed like that right-wing group in Australia to get a bunch of games, primarily queer games, delisted.
Yes.
Like, if video games were treated with the same level of creative respect as anything else, and as you've said, Laura, Horses needs the interactive element to get its point across, and if we're saying games can't make those points, I think that is an incredibly sad thing for the medium, and it only benefits the kind of fascistic content censorship that we're seeing. And I think that's incredibly disappointing.
And, you know, I think it is kind of important to put this in the context of other mediums that have and still do struggle with this fight. Like, Lolita's not that old a book, and it had a tremendous amount of difficulty being accepted, despite the fact that it is incredibly good literature. But that was banned widely in places for a long time. And we are now seeing a sort of resurgence in that kind of attitude as it pertains to protecting children in this country and public libraries and things like that. So this fight isn't exclusive to games, but it is a front upon which we have limited victories up to this point and still have a lot of things to overcome.
Games is the easiest medium that people can get content removed, delisted. Because, we have seen these fights in other mediums, but video games is where the fight for the creative expression is most often lost. And as a result of companies that make games, like Valve makes games. And
do they?
Obviously I know that you know what I mean. I'm not saying they were ever on anyone's side, and they obviously have become so corporatized now.
They're libertarians. That's what fucking pisses me off about this.
Well, let's face it, libertarians have shown themselves to be the biggest fucking Puritans going. Although, as libertarians, I am surprised that they're not more fond of paedophilic interactions, just based on what a lot of them say and do. That's not me accusing anyone of anything.
No.
That's just me saying that libertarians, they love their pedo islands.
Age of consent laws come up with every Libertarian Party discussion. Every single fucking time. So, yeah, this is a thing they're into. It does end up a
sort of, you can set a countdown timer on when one of them's going to be like, but what if, though, right? Hear me out, right? And you're going to have to really walk with me on this one, but what if? Yeah, you could set your watch by it.
So, to the point of Horses,
yeah,
I do think Horses is really worth checking out if you are someone in the video game critique space, even if just to go...
Is it on GOG?
I think... it's on GOG.
GOG is promoting the fuck out of the fact that it's on GOG.
Yeah, it's on GOG. I believe you can buy it direct from the developer's website as a DRM-free version as well. I think it is a very interesting game. I think it has artistic worth that is worth experiencing. But also just as a thing of, it is doing a lot of stuff that video games don't often get the room to do, and I think it is important to experience as something that is going to be a reference point for game discussions for a while, I suspect. It is a fascinating piece of art, even if it is one that is a heavy experience that I would not recommend going into unless you're, like, ready for it. But it is a fascinating piece of art.
Yeah, I'm buying it now. I'm getting it now.
Yeah. I'd been putting it off, and this week was the one where I went, fuck it, I need to make time for this. I need to know what opinion I have on this, and ultimately I do think it is very effective at doing what it is doing, and I do maintain it would not be as effective if it weren't a video game. And video games need to be allowed to have the room to be uncomfortable like this.
Absolutely. I won't go over what I just said, but no, video games have done enough over the years now to have earned the right as a medium to have just as much freedom in what it covers. You know, certainly not how it covers things is always good, but no subject matter should be off the table, provided, of course, that you're not, you know, making a game that libertarians would nod their head along with. Some, not all of them, just certainly every vocal one I've ever met.
Did we have any other games we wanted to talk about before getting toward the end?
I mean, no, because I said I played a lot of Kirby. Kirby Triple Deluxe is still, like, I've been replaying it now, I've seen just how underrated it is. It's often forgotten, and a lot of the critique, as I said, is just focused on difficulty. It's such an inventive little game when it comes to using the 3DS stuff in a way that doesn't feel mega obnoxious, and I love that it focuses not on throwing things at your eyes, but focuses on the depth, which was always the best bit of the 3DS, was how deep you can make things look, not what could be thrown at you. And the way it uses those two planes, it can be played perfectly well with the 3D off, but with the 3D on, it just gives it that little extra something. But the way you play with going into the background and into the foreground, yeah, that game has so many neat little puzzles and fun little sequences, and I think it's a shame. And plus it's got the bell Kirby, which we've never seen off the 3DS. The bell Kirby ability, I love the bells. You just whack things with these bells over and over, and it's really cool and satisfying because it makes a great ding-dong. And I'm sad that we haven't seen the bell again. But yeah, I've played a lot of different Kirby games, but Triple Deluxe has been the main one, and I love it. I think it's a truly great 3DS game. Yeah.
The only other one I've played, and I'll very quickly drop this, is I played a bit of there's a demo for the Final Fantasy VII Remake port for Switch 2, and I think that's worth mentioning, if for no other reason than they've added in a bunch of really nice avoid the grind replaying stuff, like Square Enix does in a lot of their ports of older Final Fantasies. So if you're someone that's like, oh, I could go for replaying Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I don't want to, like, have any grind in it, they've got a whole menu that's, like, 20-plus options of, like, have unlimited HP, gain experience at triple the rate, have constant ATB, have your weapons or your materia automatically be at max level when you gain them, play cutscenes at 2 times speed to skim through them. I wish more of this stuff was in RPGs, like, when they initially released, but I'm glad to see this stuff coming into this port, just because sometimes sometimes I get an itch that I want to replay a thing, but I don't want to spend the time that a proper replay would do. So I'm happy to see that stuff in there. Have we got time for a little bit of news before we wrap?
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah, there's one main bit this week to talk about, which is Larian's had a bit of a roller coaster week this week. They announced that they got a new Divinity game coming. Ooh, fancy. And then shot a lot of their goodwill in the foot by talking about the ways that Larian as a studio is going to be using generative AI going forward.
Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah,
I haven't heard that bit. That is fucking depressing.
They've tried to backpedal a bit, but I don't think their backpedaling really changes my opinion on what they've said, so, I'll give you the summarized version of what they said, which was, well, we're not using it for anything that's gonna end up in the final game. Like, the final game's not gonna have AI voices or AI written, dialogue or anything in it. All we're doing is using generative AI to come up with ideas. Like, we'll put an idea, we'll put a prompt in the AI and get the AI to help us come up with ideas for what a mission might be or what a conversation might be like. We're just using AI to come up with ideas. We're gonna write it ourselves by the time it goes in the game. We're only using generative AI to come up with the ideas of what we should get humans to write to go in the game.
That's even worse.
Yeah,
Right.
No, that is pathetic. That is hack level shit. That is pathetic. We said last week, I have a dozen ideas a day The idea part isn't the bit you should be struggling with.
Well, no, we're using it for the good stuff. We're using it for internal presentations and to help develop concept art and write placeholder text. Everything is human when it's in the game.
It's incinerating the planet's environment. Like, it's the planet's dying cloud. Like, there is no good AI. The slightest use of it is inherently destructive, and it's destroying this medium and every other sort of entertainment medium. Like, to use it is a betrayal. You are betraying video games if you are using it for game development.
Do you want to hear maybe the least convincing thing that Larian's CEO said during this whole interview? Let me prepare myself for this one. Of course, there's been some pushback, but at this point, everyone at the company is more or less okay with the way we're using it.
More or less.
That tells me they've had to browbeat people into just rolling their eyes and saying, well, you're going to do it anyway, I guess.
People haven't quit their jobs over it, so I guess they're more or less okay with what we're doing.
Let's make no mistake, right? Only CEOs want AI at this point. Like, even people that don't give a fuck are getting burned out and sick of it. And it's obviously we've got the people that have befriended ChatGPT and all those scary things. But on the whole, it's not working out. Investors are getting cold on it. Only executives want this because they're the ones left holding the bag on it. This is pathetic. A Larian of all companies. How sad.
So people understandably were like, hey, you made Baldur's Gate 3 without any AI, and now you're using AI. We're a little bit... We're not that happy to hear this news. And I'm going to quote to you the CEO's response to that. Holy shit, guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI.
Okay.
Yeah, his pushback... He didn't, he didn't deny any... He didn't say, oh, I was misquoted. We're not using AI for the things that I was quoted saying we're using AI for. His defense was, we're not firing any staff. And he didn't say this, but I'm going to put in brackets, at this time, because of AI being in the workflow. Obviously, the reason you do this is to ultimately replace creators with AI.
That's what executives want AI for, to realise their wacky dream of product made for nothing by nobody. And I've noticed this way of defending AI use is they just tell you what... They invent the most extreme version of a thing and tell you they won't do that.
Let me just read to you one of these. Larian hires its teams of creatives for their talent, and not for their ability to do what a machine suggests. Then why are you making them use the machine that suggests what they should do? They've said, we're not planning to replace any developers or artists with generative AI, and will not be releasing a game which includes content made by the technology, except you will be, because you will be releasing a product that was created off of the back of ideas that the plagiarism machine threw out. You're asking the plagiarism machine for ideas, and even if you write that idea in your own words, the idea came from the fucking plagiarism machine.
Plus, you're accusing energy drinks of being liars if you do that, and I hope they sue. Because there's that energy drink that says it's powered by AI, but AI didn't put the chemicals in. AI didn't make the can that it's in, and if that's powered by AI, then a game that uses AI to generate ideas is powered by AI, because that's exactly what they did with the energy drink. They asked it, what flavour should this be? And that's what you're doing. So don't accuse energy drinks of being liars. Don't impugn the integrity of the energy drink industry.
We got a nice bit of news, though. What's that? We got more video game union news this week. So we talked ages ago, back in 2023, about the fact that some of the QA workers from id Software had had voted to unionize with the CWA, the Communications Workers of America. Well, employees across the board at id Software, not just in the QA department, have now also voted in favor of union representation with the CWA, which means that the entirety of id Software, developers, artists, programmers, everything, are all unionized with the CWA now.
It's fucking great. Like,
Very good.
again,
Love to see
another
it.
Microsoft umbrella company standing up and giving the finger. And
it reportedly means we're now up to around 4,000 union represented workers at Microsoft.
And the vote was overwhelming. Like, it was really impressive, and I'm so glad to see it. Yeah, this is great news.
This snowball really has kept momentum, and that's been so great. Like, when we had these first rumblings of unionization in the games industry back in, 2020, 2021, that was the fear, is this going to be like a little blip and it's going to calm down? But the fact that it's kept going is such a good sign long-term for the industry, particularly with all the bullshit going on right now. I am glad that developers haven't given up on this fight on collective power.
Yeah. Love it.
So there we go. That's a nice one to end on.
Very good. Well, Laura, we have a sort of union over here in that we are unified in our respect for your work that you could maybe tell us about.
I mean, I could probably tell you about my work. You can find my work at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere you're going to find stuff on the internet. I'm largely going to be taking the next couple of weeks off because I'm trying to take a little bit of festive holiday. But one thing that will be going up the day after this publishes is my Game of the Year video is going to be going up on YouTube. It is a pretty lengthy video. I talk about a lot of video games in my little end of year wrap up. Go check that out on youtube.com/LauraKBuzz. If you want to support the stuff I do, Patreon, that's the one. Patreon.com/LauraKBuzz. As little as $1 a month means I get to keep doing all the stuff that I do here on the internet. What about you, Conrad? Where are you out on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I'm on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. You can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
Patreon.com/Jimquisition, which supports this podcast, the High Steph show, as we are now calling it. The next High Steph will be this coming Monday, and that will be our Game of the Year awardees. And then the week after will be the top 10 shittiest games, which I know was the one people were concerned while we had our hiatus wouldn't be done, but of course it would be. So those are coming. Yeah, we got a review of Blood on the website, which is also supported, thejimquisition.com. And hopefully I'll have a review of Octopath Traveler 0 up very soon as well. Other than that, you can check out my work in Vampire Survivors, Quantum Witch, and Date Everything, plus some other yet-to-be-announced game and literary project. Until then, thank you all so much, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.